Welcome to AAHOACON22. I'm here today to have a conversation with women leaders of AAHOA. As you know, women are the backbone of the hospitality industry. I'd like to introduce you to them. First, we have Tina Patel, Tejal Patel, Jagruti Panwala, and Leena Patel. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm going to start with an easy question first. How has AAHOA been a part of your growth as a female hotelier? And how can AAHOA continue to help female hoteliers?
Yeah, I'm happy to take it. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. And one thing I will say that having discussion like this as a female hotelier, especially in AAHOA, it only helps us increase the participation, and what we've been trying to do is to elevate the women of AAHOA in this industry. So really appreciate the opportunity that AAHOA has given to all four of us to be here today. I will tell you that 15, 20 years ago, maybe women participation wasn't that high. But I will tell you now that even looking at this convention here, probably one of the biggest session will be the women's conference, and that's been a consistent for last so many years. So we know that women of AAHOA are ready and ready to be not successful just personally, but also professionally and have a networking opportunity. And we have women leaders within the association, Leena and Tejal being a female director at large. They day in, day out are doing conferences, at the regional meetings, at the town halls, to make sure that we're providing everything we can to elevate the women of AAHOA. And I think that's something we need to continue, and having discussion like this will always help.
Yeah, and years ago, like Jagruti said, we had less and less, we had more participation as attendants. However, women trying to take on leadership roles was less, and now we are seeing more and more women wanting to be part of the AAHOA, part of the board, taking on roles as ambassadors, taking on roles as committees, being part of all of those in education. We actually have a session this year with all women panel. That's part of our education. That's the first time I've ever seen that. So it's just great. We're moving along.
I think one of the most important things to remember that as AAHOA grows, so does the women hoteliers within AAHOA. So I remember when I went to my first AAHOA conference, and I went to the women's session, and Jagruti was actually leading it with Nancy Patel, the infamous Fancy Nancy. And I was so enamored by what they were leading, because it just showed, at that point in time, which was probably about 8-10 years ago, I think, it was more so about kind of helping the women get out of their shell. And so now that women have gotten out of their shell, what is the next step? Now women want to be executives in companies. They're not looking in just operations, they're looking at development, they're looking at finance. So really creating some programming and content that is relative to what the women want. I think that's how AAHOA can help support its female membership.
So for me, I actually got involved with AAHOA probably 10, 11 years ago. Jagruti was on our women's committee. Jagruti, Nancy, we had like about 8-10 people. That was my first experience with women hoteliers. And since then, I've just seen AAHOA just get better and better with more women participating. So I've seen it grow, but that was my first, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. So I was happy to be part of it, and I just grew from there. I think AAHOA is doing a good job already, like trying to get more women involved, but I think we need more leadership opportunities. So hopefully, that's to come soon.
Yeah, and they always say that women, we need a seat at the table for the women. We need a longer table, because there are many more women that are going to be joining that table.
Can someone dig a little bit deeper into why it's important to have women in those leadership roles?
Women bring different perspective to any situations, any scenarios. And we're seeing it. There are so many areas where we have all these meetings and committees. You see that when there's women as part of the discussion, the whole room changes to say, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. So I feel like we bring a lot more perspective, because we've always been, we're used to wearing multiple hats all of our life. So we see things differently. And that's what I feel like has been the biggest asset for the entire industry, not just hotel industry, but all of the corporate world and everywhere else.
I want to add a little bit more to that is you want to have a diversity in a decision-making process. You want to have a young generation. You want to have female hoteliers. You want to have a male or female who are also experienced within the industry. You want that because that's really the way you can come to a decision that works for everybody, right? Because think about it, if you have just a certain segment on a decision-making, that thought process is only going to go in one direction. So you have to have that. And if you talk to any CEOs or any companies, organizations who are successful, who are rising, will always say that their top team is all inclusive because a different opinion matters. So I think it's more important now, but not just because we want to have equal opportunity, which is important, but I think it's almost necessity for success of a company or organization to have that different perspective.
I think it's important to have, I think women, say if I had a women boss, I just feel like they would be more relatable. So they would understand the same dilemmas we've been through, the same obstacles or difficult things that we've been through. I think maybe for support, I think it's important. But I do agree that we should be all inclusive as well, and maybe female bosses, male bosses all together. But yeah, and just talking about what the industry needs.
Obviously, your husband, Vinay, has been chairman over the last 8 months, and it's been, as he would describe, a wacky 8 months.
Yeah.
How would you say, as a woman, as someone that he leans on for support, how have you supported him and helped him over the last couple months in your role?
So it has been a crazy 8 months, a lot of changes. Sometimes he really doesn't have any time to even really talk about anything extra, what's going on, because there's just something new every day changing. And our industry has changed so much because of the pandemic. So there's something every day that we have to pivot and change or adjust. And so, but I feel like I support, just let him do what he needs to do and get it done. And that's pretty much what I've done. And I actually have taken care of a lot of our personal business.
She's underestimating herself. Seriously. She's taken over all the hotels.
I pretty much
managing everything and just letting him do only AAHOA.
Yeah.
So she's really underestimating herself.
And when I get stuck, or I just tell him the stuff he needs to know that's important, kind of in a synopsis, and then I move on after that. I make the decision and we move on.
I think this is a really important topic that I don't think many of us even talk about, because the sacrifices that spouses make in order for us to be in a leadership position and to serve the association, it is not an easy task and it is not an easy ask, but they do it, and all of them do it, right? Tina's doing it, Bipin, my husband, Tejal's husband, all of us, they're all doing it, and they're all doing it with a smile on their face, because they know that at the end of the day, this group is here to do what is necessary best for the association and for the industry. And I don't think we acknowledge enough the family sacrifice that they make to be where we are.
Totally
honestly.
agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, and I think the time sacrifice, right, is a big one, the time.
Yeah.
Jagruti, you were the first female chairwoman of AAHOA, the only female chairwoman.
So far.
So far.
So far.
That brings me to my next point. What do you think that looks like for young women coming after you, seeing your face in a wall of all men's faces?
I think all of us make impact, and I truly believe that. Doesn't matter which role you're in. And when I decided to run for the position for the AAHOA officer, I really didn't know how much of impact that position will make. It's not particularly what Jagruti will make, but what the position will make. And during my years with AAHOA, especially being a chair, I've had many fathers, more than mothers, come up to me and said, you inspired my daughter, who really didn't feel comfortable coming to the association or didn't really want to be a part of a hospital industry, but after listening to you or after seeing the work that you're doing, that helped them. And for me, I think that was probably the proudest thing for me, because honestly, we can all give back, and which we do, but all those things coming back to us, that's really personal to us, right? That's really personal that, hey, that makes me feel that the sleepless nights and 100 emails and 1,000 phone calls and everything that we're doing, it's all worth it because we're making a difference, especially on the young female hoteliers. And honestly, like, you can't replace that with anything that we actually get, whether it's a picture of the magazine, like none of that matters when you hear that. So I take a lot of pride in that, and I feel like that's been a significant achievement for the association. Again, not particularly because Jagruti, but particularly because what the association has come. And I will also tell you that, look, a lot of people will say that AAHOA is a male-dominated industry, and it really is. But AAHOA is one of the many associations were the first ones to choose a female leader. And that's a lot of, that's a lot of credit to our membership, because they're not, even though we're probably put in that segment, but in reality, that's not the fact. I think that's what I'm trying. So I give a lot of credit to the membership for making those decisions.
Yeah. And a lot of times I feel that it's the women, they hold themselves back from wanting to be out there. There is support. Men are willing, male members of AAHOA are willing to support us in every which way, but they kind of tend to hold themselves back. For example, running for the regional director position, if there's a male and a woman both running, women will say, oh yeah, just let him do it, I'll do it next time. So they kind of soften up in that sense. So they kind of have that little bit of fear of having that challenge to say, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna do this. So that's where I feel that we could have, there's so many women hoteliers that are AAHOA members that are amazing. They could do probably even tenfold better than us and have so much more experience, but they just kind of hold themselves back. And that's the key. We need to figure out, how do we get those women to say, come on the board, do it, you can do it.
So you guys really are changing the game, essentially. You are some of the first female leaders in certain positions. Can you describe some of your struggles that you faced? Can you think of like a time where someone said something to you that you felt like no one would ever say that to a man, or, like just different obstacles that you had to face to get where you are today?
That's easy. I'll let Teja.
Oh gosh. I feel like I'm still at the beginning of my career, and I'm still at the beginning of people telling me things that are like, you would never say this to a man. But I don't know if this is going to be appropriate or not. But someone was telling me about, when are you going to have children if you're doing all this? Like, when are you going to have kids? And I was like, I have a dog. I mean, she's happy with what I'm doing. I don't know what you're talking about. That's my baby.
Like, your husband must be doing everything at home for you to be out here. He must be doing all of it at home, managing everything at home.
And sometimes they go a little bit insulting as well. And they'll like, oh, like your husband just does whatever you want. And they do it in such a mean, rude way. And I'm like, is that what you say to a man's wife?
So I think there's a big double standard here. For women, men can be out there doing everything, but they don't get asked these kind of questions. But the minute women are out there doing everything, we actually if we even try to stand up for ourselves, we get labeled that word that I don't want to say right now, but I think we all know what it is. And so it's okay for them to be ambitious and to say what they need or want. But when women try to do it, I think we get so much pushback and we get labeled. And so I think that's the biggest, hardest thing.
I still get asked, how do you do it? You're always traveling. How do you run your hotel? Who runs your hotel? I get that so much. And my answer to that is that, again, women can compartmentalize and get things done so much faster in every angle. It could be anything at home or at work or anywhere else. And that's all I can say is that I get it done. It's done, I'm here. I can still do both of it. But how do you explain? And we do run into that situation, right? To say, forget it, I don't even want to explain.
Exactly.
I think constantly something that I also get into is that, you can look at us right now. We're all very different women in the way that we're dressed, the way we talk, and the way that we're interacting and stuff. And so sometimes I'll get things like, oh, like, how come you're not like this person? How come you're not like that woman? This woman is doing this in her role and acting like this. Like, why aren't you like that? And it's like, then, and it kind of goes up to that previous question you had about how do you include more women and, you know, creating a more equitable space and all that. So I'm like, we never hear things like, how come you're not like this chairman, or how come you're not like this person or this exec? So,
Right.
So I'll add one thing here is, look, we are much better off today than where we were about 15, 20 years ago, and I think we can all agree to that. But the biggest thing, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but you know, unequal gender perception, it's something is very valid, because all of us, including as women, we put ourselves in a men in category, what a woman can do and they can, or what men can do and cannot do. And those are like unprejudiced bias that we create for ourselves. And I'm not just talking about just women doing it, but we're all doing it, right? Because we're labeling it, okay, as a woman, your job is to raise children, to make sure that you're doing all the back stuff, right? You're doing it. And now if you're coming in a leadership position, oh, what are you sacrificing for that? But those questions are never asked to a man, because it's assumed that this is not their role, which is taking care of the children. So I think unequal gender perception plays a big part of it. And for us to keep talking about bringing it and also making men a part of a solution is important. And honestly, I see that traveling to many events, we see that perception is slightly changing, but you know, there's still a huge gap on the equal opportunity, no question.
Can you think of someone, male, female, anyone, in a leadership position that said something to you or held out their hand when you needed it? Someone who helped you get to where you are today?
Our spouses.
I would say for me, Vinay, for sure.
Different
He
stage.
guided me, or would say, you can do it. Especially since he's been chairman, I've kind of had to take over a lot of overseeing our hotels. And so I think he empowered me to just like do what's needed to be successful and the hotels to be successful, so.
Same.
Yeah.
I have to say same. My husband Bipin is such a big supportive, and he's always encouraging me. He's always picking up, you know, something that I wasn't, no, you go do this, I'll take care of it. And he's always encouraging me. And I feel like family support is such a positive ball of energy that we get, that we just feel like, you know, life is limitless. We can just go and do whatever we want to do in life.
No, for me, it's been different stage with different mentors in my life. Growing up was my father, then my husband. And of course, obviously, both of them continue to, but now it's more about my peers. So when I'm at the convention here, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing so many people, but there are certain people that I just, you know, like, they inspire me by just having that conversation, right? Just finding out a little bit more information from them. So I think for me now, it's more about people around me, you know, Lena, Tejal, Tina, everybody around me who inspire me, right? The work that they're doing. And I tell Lena and Tejal all the time that amount of events you're doing, amount of things that you're doing, giving back, that inspires me, right? To be a better at what I do. But I think it's, for me, it's people around me, positive people around me, I should say, not negative.
Same thing I was going to say. In fact, what you just said inspired me and it motivated me. So, for me, the people who have really made an impact in my life has happened in different parts, whether that was when I was pursuing, you know, further education, or whether it was to come on this board, or you know, even just to continue my journey here. So Hemanta has been integral with that. My friends, my industry peers who have become like family to me, so.
If there's anything you could say to any of the young adults here this week, or in general, who are looking to become part of the hospitality industry, maybe one day become leaders in AAHOA, what would you say to them? Is there any piece of advice that you got that you'd want to pass on, or is there anything that you think is of utmost importance that you would want to share with the next generation?
Yeah, I mean, ask yourself what you want to do, and whatever it is that you want to do, you just do it. Get out of your comfort zone. As soon as you think in your mind that this is what I want to do, I want to be part of this association, or I want to build a hotel, as soon as you keep saying that, then all the plans will come along, and the support will come from family and friends and industry and brands, and just do it. Just get out of your comfort zone and just do it. That's what I would advise all the women hoteliers?
I think if I would see somebody here who's attending maybe convention, maybe first time or the second time, and somebody who's young and who's saying, well, I'm really not sure if this industry is for me. I'm really not sure if AAHOA is for me. I'm really not sure, like, in whatever, right, this segment's for me. I would say, get involved, find out for yourself, right? Because once you're involved, maybe you'll say that, hey, maybe this is definitely not for me, or you're gonna say, you know what? This is definitely, I can see myself. Get yourself in a political advocacy, get yourself involved in the committees, get yourself involved in, because the opportunity is there, right? As an association, AAHOA is providing all the platforms, whether you're male, women, young professionals, everybody. But take advantage of it. That's how all of us got started, by joining a committee, by becoming an ambassador, and then it takes a lot of work. But I think you've gotta get involved. You've gotta start attending events. You've got to be. And you got to network, not just with women, with men too. You got to network.
I mean, I remember being a younger person coming to these events, and I was very shy and scared and timid, and I probably wouldn't even go up to anyone like Jagriti or Lena or even Tina here. But I wish probably someone had told me, like, no, just go for it. Like, go ask those questions. Go get out of your comfort zone. It can be daunting. You're in a room of like thousands of people, and a lot of these people are very well, not connected, but they're very well
Established?
Yes, they're very well established, but it's okay to go and talk to them, because we're the hospitality industry. Our industry is so loving and warm, and that's the spirit, that's our backbone, right? So don't be afraid to go and ask questions and get involved and share your voice.
Piggybacking on her, I totally agree. Just keep coming, keep attending. My very first one, I didn't know a single woman here. But I just kept coming, and I kept coming, and I met more people, and that's actually how I got involved. Just keep coming. You may not know a single person, but eventually you'll start getting to know a lot of people, and just meeting people in general. Like, even for me, I think I was always intimidated by, like, oh, that's like the CEO of this or CEO of that. And it was very intimidating. But now, like, after, like, once you just keep coming, you feel comfortable. You're like, oh, I'm going to go talk to CEO of Hilton or whatever, and just have a conversation if he's available, because he may not be available to have that conversation. But I think just keep on going and just keep on working at it.
And if I can add to this conversation, I know it's kind of off the sidetrack, but AAHOA is the one and only association that I know that provides so many platforms for women hoteliers. There has been time where we've done over 15 events in 1 year time span, specifically geared just for AAHOA women. Town halls we've had all across the country. We go to their town. They don't even have to come to us. We go there, we host these events where they have this platform to network and communicate and just have conversations. We have Women Hoteliers Education Session every year at AAHOA here, where everybody gets to come and they get to listen to amazing speakers, education session, all of that, and brand development days that are specifically geared towards women hoteliers. Even the brand are recognizing that women are the backbone of the hotel industry, so they're inviting us to their brands where we get to communicate with brand leaders and make decisions. So.
And sorry, I just got so excited when you were talking about that, because I love that part. I was like, oh yeah. And so, and when we talk about involvement, that's where your involvement can go beyond just this convention, because AAHOA is pretty much all over this country. So there is an event near you that you can become more involved in and learn more and get more knowledge from.
I have one more thing to say that. So I feel like AAHOA is like one big family. So we're always talking about a family. So just be part of our family.
Nice.
I think
that's good.
Really, so that's actually how I started feeling that way, when I started coming, and that's what made me just keep wanting to attend, because I felt like family to me, so.
Yeah. That was actually going to be my next question. You said you started off not knowing anyone coming to these events, and it seems like everyone not only becomes like coworkers or colleagues, industry partners, but friends and almost like a family. Even beyond
whole family.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's our whole family.
I think for us, because we've been coming to events so many years, that we can walk down this hall and probably 90% of the people, either we know or they know who we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, right? That's powerful in every, not just on like a personal level, but even on the business level.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's just from us being, leaders within AAHOA. Like, it's just happens from being around
Being
all
around,
these
yes.
people,
And
so.
attending.
Yeah.
And women helping women is one of the biggest thing on AAHOA's platform. I attended my first AAHOA convention in 2009, where Helen Xavier recognized, me outside of the AAHOA, and then invited me to be part of the speaking panel at the Women Hoteliers. That was the first time I attended. I loved it. I saw the involvement. I saw the demographics of the women aging from, high school all the way to retired. So all women are there. There's so much talent, and it's so appreciative that, we are also now paying it forward by inviting and encouraging other women to become more and more part of this.
So I think that's so important because a lot of times women, I don't know if women don't help women. I'm just being honest here because I feel like that's a really big thing that nobody talks about. I actually reached out to Lena a month ago, do you remember?
Yes.
Is there any resources I have for this? Because since I've stepped into the Vinay's role, kind of because he's chairman right now, that I stepped into his role.
And President CEO.
Yeah, and all the other roles he's had. I've had some pushback in our own business, and it's from women. And they were okay with just accepting whatever Vinay said. But then whenever I were to say something, they had to hear it from him, not necessarily just me. So I think women helping women, but I don't think it's talked about like genuinely. And I think it needs to be more honest and real because I feel like it's kind of sugar-coated, but there's a lot of, I don't want to say maybe competitiveness or jealousy or betterness. I don't really know.
We've struggled that. I feel like we've struggled that for years and years. And it's always somehow there, right? It's all, again, like,
And that's where I say that instead of having a seat for women, build a longer table so there are more women that can be part of that table, and we're not fighting for just that one seat, women fighting for one seat. Have multiple chairs available for us, build that bigger table, so we are getting more and more women involved, right? If that makes sense.
I agree, but I do hope that at some point, sooner than later, that we don't need that, because right now, yes, you're right. For the progress, we need to continue that, right? Let's make sure there's more opportunity for the women to be in leadership positions, but also we need to work towards that. Hey, we don't need that special seat. Let's get to a position where we are taking the
equal.
Yeah, we're taking the seat. We're not. It's not something that is given to us. This is something that belongs to us.
Right.
So I also think that that's something, and again, we're getting there. Look, every year things get better and better and better.
Yeah.
I feel like the pandemic has really made the whole world realize the importance of women and where they are so benefited. I feel like since the pandemic, things have changed so much. I see brands wanting more and more women to be part of their team. They want to have more women get involved. All the brands are doing all these separate sessions. And even here at AAHOA, I just feel like it's just all of a sudden just got elevated to.
I think we're kind of finally seeing in that regard that I think for a while we've kind of just seen tokenism in a lot of companies and industries and things like that. And from the pandemic, I think people finally did understand what it means to actually include people and include people who actually deserve to be in that space, and celebrate the differences that they have. So you ladies know better than I do what it was like for you all when you guys started this, but I get to thrive today because of the contributions of these ladies and the things they've had to deal with the pushback from their own peers. And I think that a lot of women and girls in my generation, we feel a little bit more inclined to help each other because we've seen y'all's struggles and we're inspired by that.